Welcome to Blind Shovel, an arts and music podcast. For this episode, I spoke with the Lyons brothers, Tim and Chris Lyons. We discussed the nature of brotherhood and collaboration. Enjoy. So I'm talking to the Lyons brothers extraordinaire.
Thanks for having us on, Mike.
Tim and Chris.
Yo.
From
New Jersey.
Asbury Park.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Seagirt.
Is that right?
Seagirt, technically, yeah.
Seagirt. So two beach boys.
Beach Boys.
How would you describe what you do? Start with Tim.
I was going to say, you go first.
No.
What'd you do today?
What I do today? So, I have a 9 to 5. I have a 9 to 5 that, I'm particularly proud of. I think, having creative pursuits is not mutually exclusive to, working for a living. I am a commercial electrician for Solar Landscape. We do large scale solar infrastructure. I could talk a lot about the sun and its relationship to life and energy, but creatively, I am a writer and a photographer, and most recently, a filmmaker.
Well, not yet, right? Does it count?
Yeah, it counts.
It counts?
I think
You don't need it.
You don't need to make a film to be
You
a
need to
filmmaker?
be in the process of making a film.
Which you're both making.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you should. So, what is your? Now,
Yeah, what do you do?
What do you do?
Chris?
Do you want to start the same way? What did I do today?
Hey, what'd you do today? I think that helps
What
people
did
understand what
we
people
do today? Woke up,
We
met
do
you,
today?
met you at the library.
Public library.
Yeah, we went in the door early and used a bunch of crazy equipment to create a 3D model of the space. So I could translate the space into a virtual environment so we could do some concept art.
To help the library build out their teen zone.
The teen zone, yeah.
That I'll work up a design. He'll render it out. But that's just today.
Yeah.
What do you technically do?
Well, I go by the title of creative technologist,
Okay.
which I guess was an industry buzzword like 5 years ago. But
Creative technologist?
yeah,
I've never heard that one.
It like blew up in popularity, and then I was like, great. You're supposedly the keystone between the technical team at a company and the creative team, except I freelance. So
Right. So
as a title, it just means I do creative work that's also technical.
okay.
In the case of what I've been doing lately, it's mostly 3D modeling,
Blender.
Blender. A lot of Blender.
And filmmaking.
And filmmaking.
Well, this is the first film.
First film, yeah.
Do you want to talk about that film? Are you allowed to?
Yeah. I mean,
Question mark?
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about it, Chris, but we're making a film about climate and really how we know what we know about climate today. Is there anything you want
What
to say?
would that entail? What does the film entail?
It entails going into the field and following these climate scientists as they collect data. Yeah, that's really it. So right now we are officially greenlit on getting on some of those expeditions, and we started shooting last month, and me and this guy are directing together. So,
Which guy?
the other podcaster.
Hi.
Oh, do you guys work well together?
So far, we don't exactly agree.
This is the
on
first
that.
time? What's the hierarchy? Who
Man,
gets to deal with what? This is an interesting question for people out there. Most people probably don't work with their brothers. I do.
Yeah.
Very much so. So, brotherhood, and then what it's like to work together within that structure and making it work. What does it look like?
Who wants to answer that
Been
one
too?
first?
Has it been too short of
A
a
lot
time?
of questions.
No. Maybe you should answer.
No, I mean, I could start with having worked with you since we were.
Yes.
You know exactly where I'm going.
Where?
Yeah, this is
Where?
gonna be.
Are you familiar with the term herpetologist?
Herp?
Do you know what that means?
No, I'm not.
Tim, you want to define the speaking of esoteric titles?
Yeah.
Herpetologist?
Yeah.
The study of reptiles.
Okay.
With a specific interest
A
in
sinful task.
with snakes being a primary
Oh God, even
point
worse.
of interest.
All right, you worked together studying snakes at some point.
No, one person studied the snakes, the other one helped catch the snakes.
You?
And there being a 5-year age difference, I, at the age of about 5 or 4, had to put my hands on a lot of giant snakes in the woods. Tim had a strategy in which he would grab a snake's tail, pull it out of a tree or a rock, and it would be like my body length as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And he would just pull it up like inch by inch until like the head is snapping. And he'd be like, Chris, come over here, open the pillowcase.
Nice.
And I'm like a 5-year-old shaking with like a snake snapping in my hands.
I feel bad for this to this day, by the way.
For what? The snake?
Just putting him in danger.
I never got bit. You got bit.
So that's how you started working together?
That's my traumatic early recollection.
What were you doing?
And it worked great. We caught all the snakes.
What were you doing to the snakes?
You would study them.
I would, take pictures of their scales and measure them. I was really too little to know what studying meant, but
But he was doing it and I was helping.
Chris definitely helped me capture those snakes.
I did the hard part.
He did.
So all that to say that you've been working together for a long time.
Yeah.
A very long time, yeah.
But this project coming up is the most serious collaboration. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Formal. I'll give my own anecdotal story, other than holding the snake bags. Chris is
Should I be
definitely-
afraid?
Maybe. Chris is definitely, I've done a lot of independent work my whole life, but it was never really fully independent. Chris helped me on like literally everything I've ever done. There's been, I am technologically inept in so many ways, and so many of my me getting in my own way about, processing images or how to scan images. As a photographer, I always shot with film, and Chris was always pushing me to, think about shooting in different ways. There was a good example of this is I had this idea for a photo that I was going to shoot for an assignment. And it was kind of tricky to know where the sun would be to capture this one moment. And this is when he was first working in VR and first experimenting with it. And he was like, oh, well, we're just going to put you in Google Earth, throw this headset on. Oh, you want to shoot from here? All right, you want to shoot at this time of day? And we just mapped out the whole photo. And I basically knew exactly what time to be there and where to stand. And I feel like, as far as collaboration goes, Chris has always been, a creative partner on everything I've ever done. So doing it this time, it feels natural. We were flying home from this first shoot on the plane, and we tricked some gentleman into moving so we could sit next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And proceeded to not talk business and only watched movies.
Yeah, we watched movies, but there was a feeling of, a victory lap on that shoot. And like, despite it really being the first time formally doing it, that it just made sense, and we'd probably be doing it a lot more here on out. We're about to embark on a marathon, so we got to do
How long?
much.
How long do you expect this project to take?
As long as it takes.
2025.
No sense of it?
2025.
We're going to have it in on the big screen.
Yeah, 2025 release date.
You have any big fights?
Oh, yeah.
What do you fight about as brothers?
I'm just going to keep bringing up the negatives, and he's going to keep bringing
yeah,
up the
that's
positives.
fine. Someone has to do it.
That's good. Yes. Well, we most recently fought on, not fought, but
Or just disagreeing on set.
we disagreed on set, and I was wrong. Totally wrong.
He was wrong.
Yeah. Yep,
Definitely wrong.
Yeah, that's it. No, it was this shot we got in the end was
the best shot of the trip for sure.
I don't.
You didn't think we had time for it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Do you have clear identity when you're working on it?
Didn't know if we should stick the lens into this very expensive machine, which we did, and it totally worked.
So you're reckless.
Kind of, yeah. But we had talked about that idea before we even went.
Yeah, totally.
It's like we're gonna have the lens, and the machine has a hole in the side.
Yeah, it was the right call. It's definitely the right call.
But do you have clear identities and roles when you work together?
So far, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So what are they?
Tim usually has a wider scope and idea as to what we need to do over the course of a day. And we'll like slowly transition between each of these tasks. Whereas I'll be like running around doing all the fine in-betweens. So like kind of complement each other in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's disagreement, like, yeah, it hasn't really been that hard so far.
No.
And growing up, these identities were clear? Like, are you what you thought you would be when you were little?
Oh, he's exactly the same.
He's exactly the same too.
Oh, yeah, you tinker. You're a tinker.
Yeah.
Talking about PSPs.
Oh, yeah. You missed that.
And then it's clear that you are a tech tinker. That's a more appropriate title. But then what are you?
I don't know. I'm curious.
What is he?
Yeah, maybe you.
You seem both philosophical.
In different ways, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's your philosopher? Who's mine?
No, I'm Diogenes.
And I'm Plato.
Yeah, there you go.
Not that I'm Plato, it's just that's the philosopher.
I'm Plato.
No, that's on air. No, I meant I identify with Plato's work.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you butt heads or get competitive about certain things, but your age gap is big enough where you probably don't?
No, when we were younger, maybe, but only like kind of.
Well, 5 years is a large gap.
Yeah, big enough to where, yeah, usually we can just talk it out.
Well, is your family mature in that sense? Do you feel that way? Like, I feel like my family's mostly mature.
Yeah.
There's problems, you just talk it out.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're working together on a project.
Yeah.
And also, it's not just me and you. Kyber,
Yeah.
third man
Kyber Jones.
in our trio, is also... Usually it's a three-way battle in the way that, like, he'll say something, I'll agree with him, you'll disagree.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. You'll agree with him and I'll disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Kyber also has, he's seasoned. He is a very, very skilled craftsman as a filmmaker and super professional. So he's a great tiebreaker because we both trust him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of, like, if someone's from the outside, you're a photographer.
Yeah.
In the most basic sense, right? Like, if someone goes on the internet and looks at your work, they see a photographer and a writer.
And a writer, yeah. And I think maybe what may distinguish me is kind of where I want to point these things. There is this philosophical background. I studied philosophy. I want to use the camera to ask questions and, point it in places maybe where it's not. So, yeah.
That's what you use art for. It's in the service of philosophical exploration. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so.
And what do you use art for?
Aspect of it.
Chris?
Usually to have fun.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You love gimmicks.
I love gimmicks.
So you're a good combination.
Yeah, you can't take... Between the two of us, can't be too silly or too serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need each other?
I think
to make
this
a complete
project, yeah.
To make a complete work of art?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, he's helped me on everything I've done, so let's definitely give credit where credit's due.
Also, you're pretty good at communicating what you want.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know any other
tools?
You know any other brotherly
digital tools?
Yeah.
tandems of this nature?
Personally, no.
No.
What do you look up to the Wachowski brothers? The Quay brothers? The other brothers?
There's a lot of
I don't know any of the brothers.
a lot of brother siblings in filmmaking.
Yeah.
That it does seem like.
Oh, Cohen.
Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it I think maybe that's what's cool about making films, and what we're doing is a huge undertaking for us, but small compared to like a huge like Hollywood film, and there is so many moving parts that, like, you know, having a team of people is kind of what makes it interesting, rather than like a lone artist in a studio. And there is, like, you know, me and him have some sort of sixth sense where we don't have to finish thoughts and can just, you know, speak in half sentences.
Has that always been the case?
I don't know. That's a good question. When do you think that started?
I think not late,
Yeah,
but it might not have been acknowledged until, like, when I say recently, I mean in like the last 10 years.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your ages are, just so people know.
I am 31.
And I'm 25, going on 26 soon.
So you're young. How does Seagirt, how does it influence you?
A lot. I've come to realize this a lot.
Really?
Yeah. We grew up in like a strange time capsule.
Right. Beach towns are like kind of frozen in time.
Why is
Also
that?
isolated from a lot of pop culture.
Yeah.
Something I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like
Explain that a little more. People don't necessarily know about New Jersey beach towns.
I don't know if they're all like this, but ours, kindergarten through 8th grade, I had a grade size of like, probably same with you, like 20?
20. No.
Yeah, 20 people per grade.
Public school?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Tiny. And it was like very cult-like. Like, by the time you graduated, everyone wore a suit and you all had to like sing in front of
Wonderful.
basically the whole town.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very, very, very tight-knit community. But everyone is on a old-timey bicycle. It's like, you know, like you'd imagine with a beach town, but all year round, yeah. It's like I grew up in a different era. At least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And you live there now.
Yeah.
And when's the last time you lived there, Tim?
Probably 5 years ago.
And you love it.
No.
I, in hindsight, enjoyed growing up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like our house growing up, it's like a compound, kind of.
In what sense?
Just a lot of people in and out all the time. Open door.
Yeah.
Circus.
Yeah, it's like a circus.
Lots of animals. Lots of open doors.
There are more people that can ride a unicycle than can't.
Yeah.
A unicycle?
Yeah.
But so, like, what did you take from Seagirt? You know, if it's that kind of idiosyncratic, in what ways did it inform who you are? You both seem to want to do what you believe in, but I don't know if that's a result of your family structure or the GERT.
What age did we get complete freedom to visit our friends and do whatever we wanted?
I think
I'd say the age of 5.
I think
Wow.
there's that component, but I think it's very much stronger family component.
Yeah, it's probably definitely more of our family than others.
We'll just go right. We'll just point right at that.
But are you saying that the neighborhood was so trusted that at 5 you could just wander about?
There was we had the ability to wander too. Yeah.
That's important.
I mean, there's an army camp on one side,
Yeah.
train tracks, and then like a lake. So it's kind of like boxed in. Yeah.
It's part of Asbury Park?
No, it's nowhere. It's not in terms of Asbury Park is what you tell people when they say
South of Asbury. Yeah.
to compare
okay.
the two would be
Yeah.
very eyebrow raising to the native of Asbury.
Yeah.
Understood. Have I been there?
Probably not.
I
It's
feel
a
like I
square
haven't.
mile.
Huh.
Yeah.
And so what's the identifying stereotype of a Seagirt
Oh,
individual?
it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to bring that up. We've been there for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's now like a very like popular, like they've torn down all the beach bungalows and put up like big McMansions.
Really?
Yeah. So I think the average stereotype now is probably different than what it was.
Yeah.
Or were you like hippie people?
Uh,
I mean, this is probably where we talk about the family influence.
yeah, maybe.
Or is the environment just more
It's
open,
just
beachy?
beach towns in general. I would say 10% of the real estate is full-time residents. So even if it's a square mile town, then you only have like a tiny percentage of homes, people that live there full time.
Yeah.
And when it's half beach bungalows and then half getaway homes, you have this weird dynamic of,
Sure.
yeah.
But is there a Seagirt identity that you represent?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, no.
You're
It's like anywhere else.
You're in opposition. in some
All
sense.
yeah, I think all these things fostered a need to leave too, a curiosity for what was outside of it.
Yeah.
I think the appreciation for this stuff came later, for me at least. But there was like a real hunger to, get out and see what was around the corner. In like in a literal, like what's around the corner here, but like what's around the corner on the other side of the world.
Right.
I think whatever this, need to follow one's creative path definitely was family influenced.
Oh, our grandparents.
Yeah,
In what sense?
our grandparents are. It's like you said it before I could.
Yeah.
It's just
Explain that.
our grandparents are just amazing people.
Yeah.
So influential. So influential. Our grandmother is a developmental psychologist she worked pretty closely with the Montessori program.
And younger kids in general.
Yeah. And
I was telling you this earlier, like toys, when we go to their house, we're never like, it was always open-ended, like, what can you build? Just like, always had like crafts and supplies.
That's a Montessori thing, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's almost like we grew up in a Montessori school because of our because of our grandma. And then our grandfather, nuclear physics, PhD, it's done some really cool, work in physics, but that mixture of like hard science and developmental play,
That makes sense.
it was so,
Why does that make sense?
Well, the kind of part of the issue, we were talking about this earlier, convergent, divergent thinking, is that the sciences kind of, there's a schism in which the sciences came to represent strictly convergent thinking and the arts came to represent strictly divergent thinking. But both of you have the fusion of those things, which honestly is necessary to make anything. But I see that kind of science fascination or tech fascination for you, and then the playfulness that comes with it. You might be more playful, Chris, as you almost explicitly make things to play. Where I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not so clear cut.
Well, what I mean is like if you have a portfolio of both of your works.
I think if I make anything that isn't explicitly play, it's just like raw creative. I usually don't. I just hoard it.
You hide it from
Yeah.
people?
So
Why?
I don't know.
Because like what I mean,
Because I think the act of creating it's usually like an expression and like a form of play, and then once I have it, I'm like, oh, whatever. And I have like a backlog.
It should also be acknowledged that he has a formal science background.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he's proper computer science and math whiz.
I wouldn't. Go that
whiz.
far.
And then you are philosophy and photography.
Formally philosophy with some focus on physics.
Yeah, it's funny. I had Jason on Rustnock, and we were getting into how like I just think there's a low ceiling to photography in terms of impact it has on me as a medium.
Yeah.
Like I think it can be in great service to other things like philosophy, but in respect to expression, which is maybe a metric that I uphold as a valuable one in the arts, I don't feel that. But for you are you trying to make, I don't know, what is photography for you? Is it the delivery of those ideas mainly?
Yeah, but I think there's also a component, and this may translate into filmmaking too. I'm curious what you think about photography and filmmaking, but I think for me, photography is so much about the world outside of me and not about my expression. And I think the poetry comes in choosing the choices one makes and what they are actively looking at. But I think the camera has a real power to strip whatever we're looking at of its associative value of what, we might want to project onto a subject or an object, and just kind of see it for what it is, and potentially outside of time, because this image will survive past, potentially past the individual who made it. And I think that the lack of expression is what creates the potential for poetry, or that interpretation of it. I like the kind of humility of the medium, but also interested in the world outside of me, like the things that I'm pointing my camera at. Much more interested in them than me.
That makes sense.
I also, as the creative technologist, want to comment that I think since the advent of the smartphone, or at least just like
Sure.
everyone having a camera, the amount of noise makes it so much harder to communicate any of that.
Yeah.
Not that it diminishes it. I just think it's harder.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny when we were talking about 3D scanning houses for sentimental reasons.
Mm.
And it seems to me that sometimes you think of 3D scanning in the way he might think of photography.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's a little more of like someone catching an animal, hunting something with the 3D scanning to me. There's something ghoulish about it.
I mean, I think the technology usually produces something that looks very ominous.
Yeah.
But
Dead.
Very dead and very, like fragmented and broken. But even a complete, clean 3D model, I don't know. I think to me, it just sits in the same sort of place as photography.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense in some sense. The philosophy is not a personal expression. It shouldn't be in some ways.
Right. You got to engage with the world.
But, what I'm talking about, I guess, is I like the heroic arts where they like crush you and that they take everything you have to produce the thing. But it's very much an internal thing. Like you said, it's more external. So that helps. It's just a preference on my part that I like people creating their own world in some sense, but it's antithetical to what you're trying to do, even with the documentary. Obviously, right. A documentary is not about fabricating a reality.
No. Yeah. You want to
avoiding that at all costs.
Well, that seems like an aim that you're trying to avoid certain sensational takes on the topic, since it already is sensationalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just cut
so
and
it's
dry.
Almost like journalism in this sense of like.
I mean, I think any documentary is supposed to be journalism.
Some, yeah. I'm trying to think of them in my head right now.
I could give a funny story. Before we worked at an ice cream shop together.
Oh, yeah. Forgot to mention that. Mm-hmm. That was incredible time.
That was incredible. We basically ran an ice cream shop for a couple summers in our youth.
Into the ground.
I mean, I don't know if we ran it.
I did.
Yeah, was this in Seagirt?
It was around the corner.
Yeah.
I think you told me this story. A guy just gave you the key.
Yep.
He lied. He lied to the manager that I was 18 and I was.
Oh, I lied. Yes.
No. You lied to the manager that I was 15.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I was 13.
Yeah.
And the manager lied to the owner that I was 18.
In my defense, that was a great lie.
Dicks?
Yeah, exactly. And then the owner comes in the next day, shakes my hand. It's like, all right, here are the keys. You're going to open. Like within a week or so, I was like a 13-year-old running this ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was great.
Oh my gosh. Especially because like when you don't ask how much ice cream you can just eat.
Yeah.
You can eat as much as you want. And I remember I cleaned out. Like one day it was really slow and I filled up an ice cream machine with vanilla ice cream and then I closed. No one bought vanilla ice cream and the machine was empty.
That's 300 cones for everybody listening. 300 cones.
Of consumption?
Yeah, but the way you can consume that many at once is via milkshakes.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I was just constantly, you're a 13-year-old with unlimited milkshakes.
Yeah.
You go for it.
It's just too much power.
We would trade ice cream for burritos next door too.
Oh yeah.
Which was
trading something that isn't yours is a good feeling.
Yeah.
I've been there.
That was a moment of glory for us. But when we both were working the late shift, we would, work until midnight and then close up and then come home. And then we would watch like 2 films back to back. And we did this, every night in the summer. And we watched a lot of movies that way. And I don't know if you remember, but we watched Bertinsky's.
I fell asleep during Bertinsky. It was good. It was just late.
Manufactured Landscapes.
I think that was the night I had the sea urchin ramen, and you wouldn't eat it.
That's true. Yeah. Gosh, it tasted terrible. But we couldn't I didn't know what we were eating. But Ed Bertinsky's Manufactured Landscapes was hugely influential in terms of what docs could do and what photography could do. And there's, that really rides the line between art and journalism in a way that was compelling.
Right. And you both were briefly at Mana Contemporary in Jersey City.
Yeah.
In the same studio?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Funny enough, this might be a hindsight realization. I don't know if we talked about this yet, but Kyber was going to be our third roommate.
Oh, yeah.
It was going to be the 3 of us.
In the studio?
In the studio.
This was way before we'd even talked about making...
Kyber Jones, videographer.
Yeah.
Our third musketeer.
Third musketeer, yeah. And I think there may have been just an intuition that the 3 of us were going to do something together, but we couldn't, at the time, we just didn't know. And the studio was, I don't know, it was an attempt at, formalizing some practice.
Right.
Also, it was fun. It was cool. There were some cool people there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you being there. Chris, you were 3D printing at the time?
Yeah, I would sculpt in VR and then 3D print the sculptures.
So your process is often embedded with technology.
Yeah,
almost always
exciting. Yeah, but you would say it's a gimmick, but there usually has to be a level of practicality in the way that I use Blender now, which is like a professional tool, and the sculpting suite in Blender technically is very challenging.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Why would I say it's a gimmick?
In the way that sculpting in VR.
Yeah.
Sounds like, I think VR and AR, MR, or XR comes with a lot of, all the art come with a lot of the realities. They all come with like baggage in terms of gimmick qualities.
Oh, I've sculpted in VR with like the spray. Yeah. I don't even know what that's called.
Tilt brush.
It was horrible.
Well, that's not a professional tool. That's like using Microsoft Paint.
I'm saying what I created was horrible.
Oh.
It's not like some easy task, not diminishing it. But it seems that you revel in pure fun.
Oh, maybe.
Like gimmicks can often have that element, You're not shy about appearing high-minded. Or not high-minded, I mean.
I think I'll defend it. I'll defend it. Yeah, I'll defend
You're clearly not walking around concerned about being perceived as you know what I'm saying? Like a fine artist, are you?
I think there's
not really,
maybe a mockery of high-mindedness.
Yeah.
Chris really thinks that, or he loves corporate aesthetics that take themselves too seriously.
What's an example of that?
This is like a childhood fascination.
Yeah, this has been his whole life. I mean, corporate architecture.
In like bad corporate architecture, I used to love as a kid.
Yeah.
You always carried around a briefcase. Half because I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
And now I still do. You see me, I carry a briefcase around.
Yeah, you're very mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Mobile and modular. Those are his two.
The modular man. Yeah.
Which is like the two foundations of making films. Like you have to be those two things. And
this is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, mobile and modular are definitely cornerstones of my interests in everything.
But not for you, Tim. You're a nester.
Hyper traditional.
So
brutally traditional.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, I mean, there's probably something. I mean, we could talk about our aesthetic fork. He's much more utilitarian, and new.
Yeah,
I guess we're both utilitarian, but you.
I mean, I hold on to traditional things too. I think that if it's aesthetic, and it doesn't provide an amount of I'll let it go.
He's much more willing to toss away tradition for.
Like Tim will wear traditional materials that will fall apart, or he'll buy something that looks great because it's made of wax canvas, and then it'll last a year and it'll cost a fortune, which is cool and all. But for me, I'd rather get the ballistic nylon that looks very similar It'll last me 25 years.
Because he's a romantic.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get
I am
the-
too. It's
you
just
know-
for a different. It's for a different thing.
What are you romantic for?
The innovation.
Yeah.
I really like
Like
the
a true American.
the thought. Not really. It's more like
Wow.
the thought of like this backpack will be handed to my kids. Like that's the thing. Whereas
That's
you
your romance? The kind of
Durability.
interesting.
yeah, super durability is definitely
I think it should be said that you're currently wearing ballistic nylon pants with Air
These are
Force
not-
Ones, and I'm wearing wax canvas pants
Yeah.
with cowboy boots.
Yeah. Yeah, I will not say these shoes were purchased for durability in my.
But you work in the dark room, is that right? Tim?
Work in the dark room,
In the dark room.
like when printing
Photography.
photos. Yeah, yeah.
And that's like abhorrent to you, I assume.
Mm-mm.
No? Why would that be? That feels like a great example of a thing that you wouldn't bother doing.
But I think
Use film.
this is where our
I
fork actually isn't too far apart. This
yeah
is
no.
why we-
I'm not like ready to abandon something that still has merit. Like you can't replace film with digital.
Yeah, I just mean the amount of time is required for that payoff in the kind of minuscule attention to detail that most people don't even have to notice the difference.
No, I still think you can totally. It's totally worth it. I begged him for years to carry a digital camera
Mm-hmm.
in addition to his film camera. I don't think I ever suggested you get rid of the film camera.
No,
Or if anything, I told you to get a better film camera.
he did.
Wow.
So
It's very supportive.
it's also infuriating sometimes.
Why?
He'll just be using the same thing, and I'm like, he's talented enough. If you just pushed him to use a better tool, which is impossible to negotiate, it would just be much. You just
Yeah, but how are you defining better tool? Because he probably thinks this tool is better.
I'm brute force. And
Yeah.
I know it's a problem. And
Brute
he
force in what way?
talks me out of it.
like if you needed to format a PDF. Instead of learning how to format the text centered, Tim would rather hit spacebar a million times. 'Cause
Really?
He knows how to do it.
I literally just did this.
No, you did not.
I did this like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is whereas I would rather spend more time learning to never have to do that.
Yeah.
Why would you do that, Tim?
Again, this is a shortcoming of mine. I don't know. Why does
Are you the first child?
I am.
Sounds like first child behavior.
Yeah.
It really does. Not that I know much about it, but like, yeah, there's something going on there.
I'm just
Are you?
brute
You're not
force.
the last one.
I'm
right?
second.
Second.
So I'm kind of middle.
Yeah.
Me and my sister share the middle seat.
No, as the fifth child, I feel like you discard things much quicker. Like there's less sense of sacredness and proximity to the parent and how things were done.
Would be Boo.
Oh yeah, she does not care.
Yeah.
Her younger sister.
You have two sisters.
Yeah.
Two
I
younger
think when
sisters.
you're in the middle though, you both hold on to everything.
Yeah.
And have a tendency to reject what you're being told. So
And you're
It's-
funnier.
yeah,
Little
maybe.
children are always
It's
funnier.
split. It's very split persona. The Gemini persona. So you have the perfect balance of a family.
Yeah.
2 daughters, 2 sons.
Guess so. We came out first. They came out second.
And what do your sisters do?
Uh,
Art related things?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it's funny that so Sammy, right after him, is a jeweler and an animal handler for film sets. And she was on set today with goat, camel,
With a goat.
I don't know. It's some big TV production.
but it was a larger animal.
Oh, I don't know.
I actually don't know. She manages the camel at Radio City during their Christmas show.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
The life of that camel.
Oh yeah.
Just strange.
Yep.
Very bizarre.
And you're-
Outside most of the year though.
Yes.
I guess the farm they free roam all of the animals together. It's big, like 100-acre, whatever.
And your other sister?
She's studying animation at UArts.
Yes, the school I went to.
She's doing her first animated film right now.
Nice.
So we get to talk about how to pitch films together. It's pretty fun.
That's cool.
Ah.
So are you an art family? Are your parents artists?
No.
No. Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
Entrepreneurs.
Well, same shit.
Both entrepreneurs, yeah.
Very similar paths.
yeah.
I've been talking to a man who works who's been at like Y Combinator and all those startup things.
Oh.
And that's the main thing we talk about, is the intersection between entrepreneurs and artists and how similar it can be in terms of sacrifice and workload and the urge to create something new in some ways
Yeah.
and effective.
Yeah.
And now the word has a lot of connotations that people don't like, kind of douchey ones, but I reject all that. Like, I'll straight up just say I'm an entrepreneur. Are you entrepreneurs?
Oh, working freelance, you have to be.
Yeah,
We've
I don't
both done
think
that.
I would take the title from that though.
Yeah.
You'll keep creative technologist.
Yeah, until for me, I'd like to develop a product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah. You got to
love
earn
to
it.
develop a product, and that's the day I'm going to call myself an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You got any ideas?
We
can
Oh
deal
yeah, I
with
got a lot, and they're not going on air. That's for sure.
He's got more than a few.
Yeah.
I think there's an entrepreneurial component to filmmaking too that's slightly refreshing. That, it's rather than not talking about it, it's like just a piece of the creative process. It feels more transparent than maybe other art practices. So and you gotta get out there and talk to a lot of people and pitch and sell and do the whole thing. So there's a piece of that, but maybe not quite. I think you probably need to start a company and get a product off the ground to gain the title.
Yeah, certainly. It's kind of like a pioneer spirit,
Yeah.
exploratory spirit.
Yeah. I think our parents both have that.
Yeah, risk taking.
Yes.
You both take risks, would you say?
Different kinds of risks. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you would.
What kind of, I mean, I immediately have a good example of a risk you took.
What? Is it what
Can we talk about it?
Yeah. It's a cool one.
what? Is it what I think?
Cool risks.
I mean, I don't know. How's our EXP working?
Yeah, it's education related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disrupted by all these waves.
Yeah. No, we got it. He dropped out of high school and went right into college his sophomore year, junior year?
Yeah, it would have been junior year.
Junior year. Yeah.
You can do that?
In New Jersey, there was a loophole.
And I actually remember the day my parents told him this, and
They met someone.
they met somebody who found this loophole where if you just jump right into college courses in the state of New Jersey, you get your high school diploma and the credits.
And it's to protect a lot of transfer credit that doesn't get accepted coming from like other countries.
Yeah.
To where you could come here, take 30 general ed credits, and then be at the same education level as a high schooler in your county.
I got you.
So I did that at a community college. I took 30 general ed credits without telling the community college that I had not graduated high school.
Yeah.
And then at that point, they were like, oh, well, you can get a diploma now. And it wasn't, I don't think it was GED. It was like my actual high school I would have gone to or would have finished.
And this is because you're 6'6".
Though no one had any idea.
At what age were you 6'6"?
Is it 8th grade?
Yeah. Was that 14, 13?
13, probably, yeah.
So he was taller than you.
This is why I could run the ice cream stand.
Yeah.
You were tall enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will say on the subject of, leaving high school to go do college, my parents heard about this and they thought he might be interested.
But as a bluff.
As a bluff, yeah. And I remember them telling him and him immediately going, I'm not going back to high school. There's not an ounce of hesitation. And they told him he went to high school and he was like, I'm just going to go get my shit and then I'm out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he went to school, both my parents were panicking because they were like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think, yeah, I guess he's really going to do it. And I was like, you two are idiots. Of course he's going to.
Right.
That's a good risk-taking example.
And you're difficult to employ.
Probably.
You've told me that before. Not my experience of employing you, but
I think it's the struggle of the generalist.
Yeah. Talk about that. The generalists, because I relate to the generalists quite well. But once you enter a real team that you respect and trust, you start to recognize that you have to sacrifice aspects of yourself for specialization, and it's a respectful thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not in the service of some like great machine of oppression or something where you understand the sacrifice, you could say that about being in a familial structure or a relationship of any kind. But are you both? You seem like generalists, both.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have shame about that?
No. I prefer
No.
till I get old to learn is like have a really I'd rather oh my god. I'd rather know a little about a lot of things than a lot about one thing. Like
Right. But
I want to be a generalist, but you get what I mean? Like I find more value in spreading wide than deep.
No, me too, but I do have a deep admiration for specialists.
Me too. I
Yeah.
envy them.
Yeah.
I would say that we're not.
Yeah.
I just don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. And I think this is true of you too. I don't think we're, a mile wide and an inch deep. I think there's like
There are
there's
chasms. for
there's
sure.
some big chasms of specialization.
And the wider you go, the more water like pours into the
Right.
deep that otherwise wouldn't be there as a traditional specialist.
Right. And I think there's this, maybe hidden belief that by specializing in two things that wouldn't touch normally, if you could, comprehend them enough and then build a bridge between them, that's how new things are built. That's how cross-pollination happens. And like, I don't know, like, what would your, if you,
Mine?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, art and technology.
yeah, there you
Creative
go.
technologist. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's more specifically 3D art and software development.
Right.
And yours?
I mean, I think there's this mix of like academic philosophy and big picture history stuff and physics with the history of art and art. So it's a similar
You
connection.
snuck physics in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim,
you
let's
put,
hear
like,
about your
four-
physics background.
You got
I
like
mean-
4. You threw like 4 or 5 in there, actually.
So,
You're a little wider than me. I tried to be specific.
yeah, I can't claim the physics title. It was more the history of physics. So that's history of science. And I think this film is probably, inspired by that. I think the history of science was driven by these questions of how we know what we know. And that's kind of what our film's about. And there's these, pinpoints and that question just fundamentally upending what we thought we previously knew. And it's always a, question of epistemology that does that. So I think specifically I'm interested in that aspect of science and physics, but that's more of a historical thing than formal physics. I am not a physicist, and I will
Never
say
be
that
one.
as many times as I need to.
Yeah, you could be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hold you down.
You don't crush his dreams.
This guy will.
I wouldn't want to
I'll
crush
do
you.
it. That's my job.
Yeah, but I think it is this goal of, connecting two areas of specialization.
What's the documentarian you look towards while making this film as a kind of North Star?
I don't have one.
Really, I think Bertinsky and Jennifer Bikewall are. That's what I think what they did was amazing with their films, but we also aren't setting out to make their film.
No, but I think even if you don't know consciously, you always know.
Well,
There's always someone you're emulating in some sense.
I think something we talked about
Is not documentary filmmaking.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be possible. Like, suppose the question framed you in that box, but so what is it?
Do you want me to? Yeah.
Can you divulge?
Sure. We grew up largely on science fiction
yeah,
in the way that we love science, but yeah, science fiction is like the best. So that is where our filmmaking interest started. But could you frame a documentary with traditional science fiction motifs without watering down the documentary part of it? So
That's what you're attempting?
kind Kind of. I think it's an influence.
Definitely an influence.
Yeah, if there was a hard answer in terms of a documentarian, I would say it's more likely that we could take our influences from science fiction.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is mostly cinematography here, but
Yeah.
Which is a big piece of it. But I think, I mean, we both were pretty moved by Tarkovsky's Stalker.
Oh, yeah. I'm showing that in 3 weeks
Nice.
at the Williams Center.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We're going to see The Conformist tonight.
At the Williams Center.
Yeah, which I've never seen. So
Neither have
I'm excited to see that.
me too.
But yeah, I think the camera motion in that and just the way that film was conveyed was, a game changer. I think that's a game-changing film for a lot of people. So I don't
It's
think
getting
we're
really popular
yeah,
as a talking point, I've noticed.
which is great. It's a great film, but
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, among other things, I think just science fiction does a really good job of documenting, even if it's fictional scientific discovery, if not like collecting data. It's just like the backbone of a lot of good science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's captured authentically. But
Right.
there's something about the aesthetic of how it's done in fiction that is authentic. I don't know how to describe it.
Looser? More playful?
Or more composed.
Yeah, I would say.
It's tighter.
Mm.
Yeah. And ominous. That's another way to describe it. Usually in the science fiction, there's a narrative that is ominous. And whereas here, we don't have... It's reality, but...
Do you see what you're going to do after this film? You already have ideas for that?
More movies.
So you're going down that path. You can
ideally.
screen them at the Williams Center.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
that is the plan. Yeah, I think there's a high likelihood of another one after this one.
Will it be a documentary?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, film makes sense for a natural kind of fit in terms of familial structure or relationships. Do you have titles in respect to the film?
Directors
You're both directors?
And VFX supervisor, of course.
VFX supervisor?
and writer and showrunner.
You're writer, showrunner, Kyber, videography.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see you do it at a larger scale. See how that goes.
With like a team of.
Yeah.
I think if we step out of the documentary realm, that we just won't have a choice. Working
Of
with
course,
actors, working with a whole team of people, which would be great to do.
How would you get people excited about seeing this film? What's the pitch? What's the elevator pitch?
I think the landscapes that we have to go into to make it are exciting in themselves.
Yeah.
I think
The researchers that collect this data have to go like literally to the ends of the earth
yeah,
and use like the most ludicrous like machinery.
yeah,
That is, it's like kind of speaks for itself as like a visual spectacle.
yeah.
So
We're making a space film more or less on Earth, and like the landscapes that we are going to have to go into are alien
Mm-hmm.
and sublime in the use of that word. But
What are the landscapes? What places will you go to?
so right now we're locked in to go off the coast of Greenland, and we're going to have to film in some mines, hopefully in Sicily and Spain and in the Mediterranean. And the expedition we are working towards right now is the South Pole.
And what will you be filming exactly?
We will be filming the core sampling process.
Is it like a big old drill?
Yeah.
basically,
Yep.
in the middle of a large, very, very large ship.
Yeah.
that goes out in parts of the ocean where there's no air traffic, there's no shipping lanes, there's no fishing. So you're the only thing out there. So, and there's like the Northern Lights. Like, it's a very surreal environment.
So you'll see the Northern Lights.
Ideally. I checked at least the time of the year we're supposed to be there.
Really?
Yeah.
On 403?
Yeah, it could be wrong, but
Gosh, I love this news. This is great.
Yeah.
It only gets better. But yeah, we're going to follow them. And we could say that the title of the film is The Time Travelers because this data that they're collecting is like millions of years old. And it helps inform us about the future of life on this planet.
So there's that sci-fi angle, that kitsch title.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You gonna lean into that with like a font that says it? That says that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This guy wants to use Dido, but
Really?
yeah, right?
I want, you know, I want an opera, space opera.
That's cool. I respect that. Well, I'm happy for you.
Thanks. I mean, we got to make it now.
You will. Chris,
What?
you think you'll make it?
Yeah. We already have a lot. You know what it is? I think if there's anything that boosted my confidence, it's that the subject matter on its own doesn't seem like it can amount to a feature-length film.
Yeah.
Until we went to Texas and met all the people and learned about what's involved, and then I was like, oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying the process is intriguing.
Yeah.
Completely.
Politically, there's a lot that is pretty intense.
It does. It feels like we found NASA and it's just been stuck in a broom closet
Really?
in terms of like the scope and scale and importance of this stuff.
I suppose you can approach it day by day and let whatever's interesting kind of carve the documentary's path. Like if it gets a more human narrative, that's fine. Sounds nice, you know, that, like you said, there's so much on the plate already. If you just do the job right, it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, you know, I think the story lends itself to a feature-length film, and we are just leaning into that. You know, it's not like we set out to make a feature. It's just this is what this requires.
Yeah.
And would you prefer it be shown in theaters, or would you be cool with it being released by like Netflix? The only reason I ask is as I'm studying how to open up a new cinema, I've been reading more and more about that dynamic and how that's why cinemas struggle a lot. The film is shown in a festival, but then it gets picked up by, you know, a streaming service, and then they start getting all the quality shit. And the cat is here.
Hot ego.
Have you considered that?
You were going back and forth about it right now.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
I think
it all
given the
depends on what
nature,
the opportunity, what doors are opened.
yeah, the space opera nature of it makes me think it should be in theaters.
I think what we all agree on as a team is like we want to do what's best for the film, like whatever. And also there is an educational component to this, so we want to showcase this research to as wide an audience as we can. So
Yeah.
if a streaming platform will do that, then that's the way we're going to go. If a traditional box office release will do that, that's the way we're going to do.
And streaming platform doesn't negate screening. I think it really depends on whether or not they
True.
produce it.
True.
Yeah. We would like to have a fun premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps at the Williams Center.
At the Williams Center.
At the Williams Center.
Thank you. You got a joke for me before we go? Family joke.
Oh, man.
Joke you both love.
Have you ever heard the joke about the broken pencil?
No.
I don't even know where you're going with it.
It's fucking pointless. You don't want to hear it.
Shut up.
Oh, God.
You do something. Yeah, also, Tim's jokes are like notoriously terrible.
No, that's a great joke.
It's Tim's
I would think someone like you would appreciate that.
I do because I appreciate him. I think him finding it funny is what I find funny.
He's much funnier than me.
No, I wouldn't.
His wit is so quick.
No, don't put me. I don't have any jokes to tell.
Yeah, your jokes are situational.
Fair enough. That joke's good enough for me.
Hmm.
I always like to end it on a joke.
Cool.
All right, so pitch the film one more time and tell people where they can find your work.
Yeah, where can people find
You have a website.
Yeah, I do have a website.
So there.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, so the film is called The Time Travelers, and we are going to the ends of the earth following these researchers as they reach into the deep past to tell us about the future of life here on Earth.
Currently, we're in pre-production, so
Do you need money?
we do need money.
So, all my wealthy listeners,
Yeah.
they need money.
Yeah. So as for a website, right now we don't have anything up, but
No, timetravelersfilm.com.
I guess, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, timetravelersfilm.com. And you can see my work at lionswork.com.
And mine at chrislyons.tech.
Oh, that heck. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us.
It's time to go to the Williams Center.
The Williams Center.
Let's check out The Conformist.
Bertolucci's.
I heard this was one of the greatest films ever made, honestly.
That's what they say.
Well, I'm excited.
Fantastic. Music by Dori Bavarsky and Ming-Ja Chen. Next up, we have James Kaufman.